Bob Dylan is someone I've longed to interview. A whole generation was moved by his songs of unrest and resistance. He has mostly remained quiet, yet his life has been the focus of many interpretations. You will see the essence of Dylan: intriguing, enigmatic, and captivating. A phenomenon that transformed the music industry in the 1960s, Bob Dylan wrote songs that became the potent voice of a generation demanding change. His skill, however, went beyond all expectations and into areas that few would think a musician could explore. But underneath all the splendor is a man of deep contradictions. Even Bob Dylan's own admirers were critical of him. In his turbulent personal life, sorrow and love coexisted. Surprisingly, although being praised by the literary community, he exhibited actions that displeased many. What really happened in Bob Dylan's life? How does a musician reach the highest level of literary and artistic achievement while transcending the boundaries of music? Come along as we examine Bob Dylan's emotional journey, which is filled with both profound tragedies and stunning victories. Born Robert Allen Zimmerman, Bob Dylan was born in the Minnesotan town of Duluth on May 24, 1941. As second-generation Jewish immigrants in America, his family struggled to establish a secure living in a discriminatory environment. Abram and Betty Zimmerman, his parents, owned and operated a modest appliance business. However, tragedy struck when Abram was paralyzed in an accident. Robert grew up in Hibbing, his mother's hometown, when the family was forced to move there. Robert's love of music started to develop at Hibbing. He would tune into country and blues music stations that aired from Shreveport, Louisiana, and listen to the radio for hours. As he entered puberty, he was enthralled by Little Richard's and Elvis Presley's explosive rock and roll sounds. Every song provided an escape from the limitations of small-town life and a doorway to freedom. Robert did more than only listen. He took action based on his desire. He started a number of bands when he was a student at Hibbing High School, often covering rock and roll icons like Little Richard and Elvis Presley. His band's rendition of Danny and the Juniors' "Rock and Roll Is Here to Stay" was so loud and upbeat that the organizers of one school talent contest asked them to turn off the microphones. In 1959, Robert Zimmerman was listed in the Hibbing High School yearbook as to join Little Richard. In the same year, he took on his first stage name, Elston Gunn, and played piano and participated in rhythm sections for a short performance with Bobby V. The groundwork for Dylan's future profession was established by these encounters, which went beyond simple childhood enjoyment. Robert's discovery of folk music, especially via the songs of Lead Belly and, most importantly, Woody Guthrie, was a turning point. In addition to being a musician, Guthrie was also a poet and social activist whose songs conveyed very personal tales of adversity and defiance. Zimmerman was inspired by Guthrie's lyrics to pursue a higher goal, using music as a vehicle for telling stories and delivering important social messages. Robert decided to change his given name to Bob Dylan in order to symbolize his metamorphosis. In addition to being influenced by poet Dylan Thomas, the new name represented freedom, leaving behind the bonds of his past in order to create a distinct and autonomous creative identity. The combination of Dylan and Bob, a well-known variant of Robert, produced a name that was lyrical, expressive, and ideal for a storyteller. Bob Dylan's aspirations went well beyond being a rock star after that. He wanted to be more: a storyteller, a communicator, a musician. The musician who would forever change music and popular culture was created by the fusion of the richness of folk music with the ferocious fervor of rock and roll. A young guy called Bob Dylan showed in on January 24th, 1961, in the middle of New York City's bitterly cold winter, with just an old guitar and an unending desire. It was winter, Dylan remembered after the fact. The cold was brutal, and every artery in the city was covered in snow. I wasn't looking for money or love. I had a heightened sense of awareness, accustomed to my way of living. Unrealistic, yet far-sighted. Dylan soon realized that everything was going to change, and change fast since he didn't know anybody in the frozen metropolis. There was a lot of social unrest at the period, with ferocious battles for social justice and ever stronger voices of dissent. The civil rights movement was gaining traction as America entered the 1960s. Dylan took sanctuary in Greenwich Village, which was the center of the folk music movement and a sanctuary for up-and-coming musicians who used music as a vehicle for social change in addition to singing. Every music and lyric in this period had deeper meanings than mere amusement. They were waking sparks, summons to action. By playing in little coffee shops and running across well-known people like Pete Seeger and his hero, Woody Guthrie, Dylan fully embraced this culture. Dylan's perspective of music as a medium for narrative and social criticism was significantly influenced by Guthrie's songs, which depicted the hardships and injustices experienced by the working class. Dylan didn't just take in these inspirations, he changed them, fusing the richness of folk music with his own fiery personality to produce a sound that was all his own. Dylan's fame was further enhanced by his association with folk music's brightest star, Joan Baez. In addition to sharing the stage with him, Baez exposed his music to a wider audience, which aided in his rapid rise to prominence in the folk movement. Dylan's will to not be limited to little stages or dependent on outside assistance, however, was what made him unique. His potent songwriting helped him forge his own legacy. In 1962, Bob Dylan released his self-titled first album, which served as the catalyst for his career. The album demonstrated Dylan's narrative and songwriting skills, but it didn't have a big effect. Songs such as Song to Woody demonstrated the impact of Woody Guthrie, whom Dylan considered a mentor and an inspiration. But Dylan's breakthrough album, The Freewheelin' Bob Dylan, which solidified his position as a key figure in the folk music movement, came out just a year later. Songs like Blowin' in the Wind became civil rights movement anthems because of their profound but straightforward lyrics, which spoke to a whole generation. In the meanwhile, A Hard Rain's A Gonna Fall became a musical epic that combined poetry and melody to depict the tumultuous realities of American life. Dylan's album Bringing It All Back Home, released in 1965, was a daring foray into electric rock. His support base was split as a result of this abrupt change. Dylan's performance with an electric band at the 1965 Newport Folk Festival marked the height of the dispute. The electric guitar's sound not only rocked the stage, but it also caused hundreds of people in the crowd to question their beliefs. The air was filled with booing, furious expressions, and treachery allegations. Dylan persisted, however, continuing on his groundbreaking path with hits like a Rolling Stone, and the album Highway 61 Revisited. At the time, the 6-minute song Like a Rolling Stone defied all music business conventions and came to represent artistic and personal freedom. Dylan once again dazzled the globe with Blonde on Blonde, 1966, one of the first double albums in rock history after Highway 61 Revisited. Dylan's unbounded inventiveness was shown by the album's vast variety of sounds and profound words. He was under tremendous pressure in the next years from both the public and detractors. An example of Dylan's perfectionism in both his music and personal presentation is the story of how he supposedly went into a frenzy after losing his favorite jacket before a gig. After establishing himself as a rock star, Dylan kept trying new things. His 1969 album, Nashville Skyline, combined rock and country music in a smoother, gentler manner. In Slow Train Coming, 1979, a song that reflected his strong religious convictions in the 1980s, Dylan dabbled with gospel music during the late 1970s. Dylan demonstrated his unwavering progress by adapting once again with Infidels, 1983. Which included rock, reggae, and current elements as new genres emerged and worldwide music trends changed. Despite doubts, Dylan's reflective album, Oh Mercy, released in 1989, demonstrated his maturity and reinforced his eternal genius. Dylan maintained his reputation and showed remarkable flexibility over decades of personal and professional ups and downs. From his folk music roots to the rock genre's meteoric ascent to his ongoing experimentation over the years, Bob Dylan left behind a legacy of music as well as self-reinvention and self-discipline. Dylan created works that stood the test of time by consistently pushing the envelope and accepting criticism. He changed how people see music worldwide and transcended beyond just being a musician to become a symbol of a time. True originality has no boundaries as seen by Dylan's career. His music is still relevant now and will continue to inspire future generations indefinitely. A 20th century musical legend, Bob Dylan is renowned for his complicated and intensely emotional personal life, in addition to his skill as a songwriter and performer. His marriages, relationships, and even heartbreaks molded him as a person and provided many sources of inspiration for his compositions. During the early years of his career, Dylan had a deep romantic relationship with Suze Rotolo, a lady who greatly impacted his development. When Suze, then just 17 years old, first met Dylan in 1961 in New York, she immediately became an essential part of his life. She embodied the fervor of young love when she made her memorable appearance on the cover of the Freewheelin' Bob Dylan. However, their relationship deteriorated as Dylan's career took off. As Dylan pursued other objectives, Suze, who was fervently dedicated to political principles and social movements, felt more and more alienated. Suze left him in 1963 because to the demands of fame and rumors of adultery. Dylan's life was profoundly empty when she departed. Yet this sadness served as inspiration for some of his most moving songs, like Don't Think Twice, It's All Right, and Boots of Spanish Leather. Shortly after, Joan Baez became Dylan's partner in his creative endeavors as well as his girlfriend. Baez assisted Dylan in growing his impact and was already a key player in the civil rights movement at that time. Nevertheless, there were some rocky moments in their partnership. Dylan appeared to disassociate himself from the civil rights movement they had previously fought for together. So when he turned to electric rock, Baez felt alone and alienated. When Dylan asked Baez to join his 1965 UK tour, but forbade her from taking the stage, tensions reached a breaking point. Later, Baez said that she couldn't understand Dylan's treatment of her and felt disoriented and discouraged the whole time. Dylan thought that Baez's presence didn't fit with his new image, since he was under so much strain from his style change. They broke up during the trip as a result of these unsolved issues. Following their split, Baez carried on with her music career, writing a number of songs that mirrored their relationship, including Diamonds and Rust, 1975. Her recollections of Dylan are revisited in the song, which captures the beauty and suffering of their relationship. Other songs like To Bobby and Winds of the Old Days similarly express her range of feelings for Dylan, from adoration to disillusionment. Despite their breakup, Baez and Dylan would play together on occasion, such as at the Peace Sunday event in 1982 and the Rolling Thunder Revue Tour from 1975 to 1976. Later interviews revealed that Baez's life and career were significantly impacted by her friendship with Dylan. She said that she finally came to forgive and let go of her past wrongdoings. With songs like Idiot Wind and You're a Big Girl Now, Dylan's 1975 album Blood on the Tracks is widely seen as having been influenced by both his complicated feelings for Joan Baez and his unsuccessful marriage to Sarah Lowndes. Additionally, Dylan met Sarah Lowndes, who would eventually become his wife and one of the biggest influences in his music career in the early 1960s after his complicated affair with Joan Baez. Sarah Lowndes was born in Wilmington, Delaware on October 25, 1939, as Shirley Marlin Nozaniski. Her family was Jewish immigrants. Sarah had experienced major upheavals prior to her life being entangled with Dylan. She has a daughter called Mariah from her previous marriage to fashion journalist Hans Lowndes, but the marriage didn't endure, and Sarah relocated to New York to start again as a model following their divorce. She was born Shirley Marlin Nozaniski, but changed her name to Sarah at Hans Lowndes' insistence since he didn't like her previous name. In addition to becoming her daily persona, he convinced her to take the name Sarah Lowndes, which served as a symbol in Bob Dylan's music and served as the inspiration for several poignant songs. The connection between Dylan and Sarah soon grew serious. They were married in a secret ceremony in November 1965 and had 4 children together: Jacob Dylan, Samuel, Anna, and Jesse. Later, Jacob rose to fame as a musician with the Wallflowers. Sarah was a muse who had a profound impact on Dylan's songs and was more than simply his wife. Dylan's most well-known songs, such as Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands from the Blonde on Blonde album, are attributed to her by many. But Sarah from the 1976 album Desire is the most famous song he composed about her. This song, which recalls their wonderful times together, from beach vacations to happy family life, is a powerful expression of Dylan's love and respect for her. Dylan had a number of noteworthy romances after divorcing Sarah in 1977. Carolyn Dennis, a gifted vocalist who had served as one of his backing singers in the 1980s, was the woman he married in 1986. On January 31, 1986, Desiree Gabrielle Dennis Dylan, the couple's daughter, was born. Before their marriage and kid were made public in 2001, Dylan and Dennis separated in 1992. Prior to becoming married to Dennis, Dylan was in a committed relationship with Ruth Tyrangiel from 1974 until 1991, which coincided with his marriage to Dennis. Tyrangiel sued Dylan for palimony when they split up, but the case was resolved out of court. Dylan was romantically involved with well-known gospel and R&B singer Mavis Staples as early as the 1960s. Their mutual passion of music brought them together at a folk festival. Dylan even asked Staples to marry him, but she turned him down, a choice she subsequently regretted. Dylan's music was forever altered by the upheaval in his personal life, which included complicated marriages with Sarah Lowndes, intense but tumultuous love encounters, and teenage infatuations. His songs evolved into accounts of his own experiences with love, heartache, and loss. These connections served as the basis for classic pieces that moved millions of people. Dylan's creative talent and sensitive heart turned his personal hardships into a timeless musical legacy that still motivates people today. Dylan has generated endless debate in addition to praise. Dylan's candor and distinctive style of communication have always been a double-edged sword, establishing his reputation as an artist who boldly confronts norms and breaks traditions, but also making him a divisive figure. There has long been discussion over Dylan's interviewing manner. When journalist Horace Judson questioned Dylan in 1965 about the real significance of his songs, Dylan sarcastically replied, "Have you ever asked anyone else that question?" This left the journalist perplexed and prompted conversations about Dylan's perspectives on the media. In D.A. a year later. In Don't Look Back, Pennebaker's documentary, Dylan remained contemptuous. Dylan's reaction to the question of whether he saw himself as a leader of his generation was, "I don't know. I really don't care." Although many were disappointed by this statement, it demonstrated Dylan's rejection to be limited by any title or label. Dylan was in the center of the public spotlight once more in 2021, after he was accused of sexual assault decades earlier. The incident rekindled discussions and left supporters perplexed, even though the lawsuit was ultimately dropped for lack of evidence. Even though the accusations were unsubstantiated, many pointed out that they contributed to Dylan's public persona's nuanced and controversial aspects. Dylan often caused more controversy with his words than with his deeds. He sparked controversy in a 2012 interview with Rolling Stone by drawing a comparison between the situation of African Americans in the United States and that of Jews living under Nazi control. Some groups swiftly denounced this comparison as offensive, causing a reaction on social media and forums. Despite being controversial, Dylan's comments showed one thing. He was not afraid to voice his opinions, no matter the repercussions. Dylan has even made a statement by being silent. The fact that he was the first musician to receive the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2016 and his response to the esteemed honor both attracted notice. Dylan didn't say anything for more than 2 weeks after the Nobel Committee's announcement of the award on October 13, 2016. The public and media were perplexed by this attitude, and many questioned if he would even accept the honor. When Dylan eventually spoke, he called the Nobel an incredible honor. Dylan's decision to skip the awards ceremony in Stockholm on December 10, 2016, however, caused even more criticism. Rather, he submitted a speech which Azita Raji, the American ambassador to Sweden, delivered on his behalf. In the address, Dylan thanked the honor and said he was surprised to see his name next to such great authors as Hemingway and Camus. Dylan has continuously confounded expectations with his words, deeds, and even silences, continuing to be a mysterious figure that both attracts and divides audiences throughout the globe. In order to get the roughly $900,000 award money, laureates are required under the Nobel Award rules to give a speech within 6 months. Just before the last day on June 5, 2017, Dylan completed this criteria by recording a 27-minute lecture. During the talk, he spoke about books like Homer's The Odyssey and Herman Melville's Moby Dick that had a significant impact on his songwriting career. Some of the early criticism was lessened because to this thoughtful and original approach. Dylan's remark, however, generated conflicting views. While some perceived his behavior as disrespectful to the prize, others saw it as a continuation of his signature artistic style, which is one that always embraces creative freedom and defies convention. Dylan saw winning the Nobel Prize as a tribute to his capacity to break the rules, even in the face of one of the greatest literary accolades, in addition to being a testimonial to his brilliance. The Swedish Academy's permanent secretary, Sarah Danius, referred to Dylan as a great poet in the English-speaking tradition and likened his songs to the ancient Greek poetry when she announced that he was the winner of the prize. In addition to provoking, divisive responses, Dylan's scandals served to further solidify his reputation as a rebellious artist who constantly pushes boundaries. He continues to be a representation of perseverance and an unwavering creative identity, regardless of criticism or appreciation. In addition to writing the history of music, Bob Dylan has had a profound impact on society and public opinion. Bob Dylan is more than just a musician. He is a cultural icon who has changed the way that people see art and music. From Blowing in the Wind to Like a Rolling Stone, his compositions not only changed the direction of music history, but also served as potent statements that spoke to the social and political concerns of his day. Millions of people were motivated to fight for justice and freedom by Blowing in the Wind, which became a symbol of the civil rights movement due to its philosophical issues. Dylan's 2016 Nobel Prize in Literature announcement is a clear indication of his enduring impact. Dylan, who was honored for having created new poetic expressions within the great American song tradition, broke down the barriers between literature and music and made everyone reevaluate what art is and how much it is valued in society. Even though he was not there at the event, his choice once again demonstrated his individuality and unorthodox artistic style. Dylan has had a lasting impact on generations of artists in addition to igniting societal movements. Numerous performers have recognized the significant influence of his songwriting and performing style, ranging from Adele to Bruce Springsteen. Rough and Rowdy Ways, 2020, and Time Out of Mind, 1997, are two albums that further demonstrate his unrelenting inventiveness. Dylan's legacy, regardless of his professional level, encompasses not just his classic songs, but also his attitude of questioning conventions and welcoming change. For those who dare to explore the transformational potential of art, he continues to be a never-ending source of inspiration. Bob Dylan is still proving to be an irrepressible artist at the age of 83. He continued his Rough and Rowdy Ways global tour in 2024, performing in key European cities such as the Czech Republic, Germany, France, Luxembourg, Belgium, the United Kingdom, and Scotland. Notably, audiences were deeply affected by his 3 nights in a row at London's Royal Albert Hall in November 2024. Dylan's unwavering inventiveness and versatility, which sustain his special connection with fans, are evident in the way he continues to reinvent his songs in every performance, even as he ages. Dylan continues to be involved in cultural endeavors outside of music. The Nashville Music Hall of Fame and Museum will hold an auction in January 2025 called Honoring Bob Dylan, which will include priceless items from his career, such as Aronowitz archives and T-Bone Burnett collaborations. Such gatherings highlight Dylan's indelible legacy as a cultural icon, in addition to celebrating his accomplishments. Timothée Chalamet's portrayal of Dylan in the biographical movie A Complete Unknown has also garnered a lot of interest from both the general audience and reviewers. The movie depicts Dylan's turbulent career as well as the deep depth of his character and creative abilities. Reaffirming his status as a living icon, Dylan keeps writing new chapters in his career. He maintains the essence of an independent, creative artist who is unwaveringly committed to his work at the age of 83. Dylan's life is a monument to tenacity, ardor, and an enduring love of art, in addition to being the tale of a brilliant artist. A light of boundless ambitions and the voice of an age, Bob Dylan is more than simply an artist. Dylan has changed the way we think about music and life, from songs that inspire a desire for freedom to daring actions that push all limits. Millions of people can still clearly recall his appearance with a guitar in thought-provoking songs, serving as a constant reminder that genuine creativity has no boundaries. Bob Dylan left a lasting impression on mankind by capturing the spirit and dreams of a whole generation via his songs. Don't forget to follow our channel for the newest videos on musicians who have made a difference in the world, and keep up your support for the musical icon, Bob Dylan. To discover more tales and distinctive heirlooms from his remarkable career, be sure to attend the auction honoring Bob Dylan on January 18th, 2025. We'll see you in our next video.